제 딸이 많이 아픕니다. How in the name of all that is squiddly does no ool keep bumping into sick daughter from the parade guy? Even if she's seeking him out, it is wild that he picked the O team, survived this long, and that another guard didn't get to him first. Also, here's a sin on you for not remembering who he is. Come on, it's not like some penny counter needlessly took what is clearly a one-season chapter and split it into 2 separate seasons to boost subs. Grow a hippocampus already. He survives this. I know, people survive gunshots all the time, but really what I'm saying is this subplot survives this, and that makes me sad. Listen, we all know that this isn't Squid Game 3. Everything about this feels like Squid Game 2 Part 2. And I just wish Netflix would admit they f***ed themselves with this drop all episodes at once gimmick and have been backpedaling ever since. Have you ever played Sleeping Lions with a bullet in your chest? I mean, I haven't either, but I guarantee I'd lose to this guy.
어차피 죽을 놈들 단계로 살 수 있는 사람들 살리는 게 뭐가 나쁜 건가 싶더라고. 잘 생각했어.
This walking workplace harassment suit is very quick to believe Noel's sudden change of heart and will take not a single precaution to prevent a double crossing that jeopardizes his super lucrative organ harvesting side hustle. Main character has a flashback dream that conveniently doubles as a recap. Cliché. I can't even begin to imagine how much you'd have to pay me to go back to work just minutes or hours after surviving an attempted coup. You'd think at least some of these squid guards would have a bit of, nah, this noise about them.
이제 다음 게임의 속행 여부를 묻는 재투표를 시작하겠습니다.
If you listen very, very closely, you can hear a Netflix exec frantically slamming a glowing X button that the show creators are ignoring.
왜 나만 살려둔 거야? 왜 날 안 죽였어? 대답해! 이유가 뭐야?
Because you're the main character, silly. The fact that you struggle with survivor's guilt for most of the season is just a bonus.
일단 항구로 다시 돌아왔습니다.
I did some research and you can apparently call a landline using a boat radio, and sometimes I just have to ding reality for being f***ing weird. Also, what if Captain Park had an urgent or time-sensitive update? Is Frontman always near this landline? Surely of all the people on the island, he would allow himself to have a burner cell phone of some sort.
상황이 나빠지면 어떡하죠?
The subs here say, what do I do if things go south? And I'd like to have a chat with the person who wrote these subs about cultural relevance in conversational idioms.
다 죽여. 형사도 같이.
There's like 8 guys there, some of whom are ex-military. What does Frontman expect him to do, sink the entire boat?
셋을 셀 때까지 투표 의사를 밝히지 않으면 기권으로 처리하겠습니다.
Using all 5 digits when you're only counting back from 3. Oh, apparently I'm in an extra pedantic mood today.
456번은 투표를 포기하였으므로 기권으로 처리하겠습니다.
People who give up their vote. I bet he's still f***ing complaining about the the continuation of the games. Still moaning about the continuation of the games.
VIP들이 곧 도착한다.
The fact that the VIPs aren't here means that these assholes are leaving so much money on the table. Why not have some lesser VIPs here to bet on the opening rounds? I know they're all dying for nothing, but now it feels like they're dying for extra nothing.
근데 왜 내려왔어? 먹고 살기 힘들어서?
A South Korean asking a North Korean, were things pretty bad up there, feels like someone from Texas asking the rest of the country if iced tea is an acceptable meal accompaniment. To which the reply to both should be, of course it is, and I can't believe someone from the South would have to ask that.
내가 이 아래 받은 데가 있어. 너도 좋아할 거야.
Punctuating your first date plans with a laugh that says, and she was never seen or heard from again. Making me wait forever to find out if this is a game of human checkers or a mass crucifixioning.
사람들 꼬셔서 데리고 나가서 한꺼번에 싹 다 죽인 거지. 가면들이 저 인간만 살려두고 여기 모셔다 놓은 거 보면은.
Jeez, can you imagine taking the time to pick out all the inconsistencies in someone's plan and then list them with so much confidence?
네 귓가에서 지르는 네 친구들의 비명소리 말이야.
Using a character to spell out Gi-hun's grief as if we couldn't possibly pick up on his catatonic remorse ourselves. Getting close enough to the handcuffed man to get choked. Foghorn Leghorn would never.
여긴 왜 데리고 온 거야? 이제 한 배를 타기로 했으니까.
Everyone is very willing to accept this man's boner as a good enough reason to allow the exposure of their super lucrative organ harvesting side hustle. Also, if she's in on it, that means she's likely getting a cut, which means he just reduced the amount that they'll all be earning from the scheme. This should have been a much bigger deal.
전에 하던 놈들은 서로 못 믿고 숨기고 감추다가.
No, they were killed because it was discovered they were using a player from inside the game to help harvest the organs in exchange for information about the next game. Their mistake wasn't hiding. It was poor recruitment choices in their organ picking outsourcing. Noel puts her gun down, waits a bit, then goes back to pick up the gun to shoot everyone, instead of, just shooting everyone and skipping the exposition. Also, Noel gets the drop on all of them, but ends up in a scuffle with one of the guards. She bests him, but what the f was this guy doing during that struggle? Seems like he just kind of hung around and waited for her to not be occupied before even attempting to shoot. I get they're pretty far down, but gunshots are loud. It's hard to believe that no one is going to hear them, especially when a game isn't going on.
나 이놈들은 한패가 아니야.
Oh, you're not with the people harvesting organs from eliminated players? You just happened to be walking by with a scalpel and accidentally extracted some organs? No, that totally checks out. Happens to the best of us.
난 알아요. 선생님이.
Well, not all of you. A crucial part of his plan was leaving a lot of no voters to die as a distraction.
저기 대호 씨가 탄창 챙겨서 나가려다가 그냥 주저앉아 버리더라고요.
Gi-hun will now focus his grief at Dae-ho, who, to be fair, reacted like many people would if they were suddenly thrown into a sudden insurrection.
아니요, 괜찮습니다.
Then why did you let him give you one of those tiny cups, you sake tease?
제 생명의 은인이고 지난 몇 년간 그 섬 찾는 걸 도와주신 분이에요.
Just still haven't found it. Isn't that curious? At this point, you've got to be expecting subterfuge or acknowledge that you're really bad at searching for islands.
나도 박 선장이 꼭 드론 기사를 어떻게 했다 생각하는 게 아니고.
But you are saying that. And the fact it's the small-time hood saying it and not the trained detective is eye-opening.
제 생명의 은인이고.
Let me bottom line it right here. Junho is surprisingly unwilling to accept that Captain Park might be up to no good, and this level of trust seems odd coming from the person who is searching for a secret island where his brother is running a Hunger Games. Pretty sure Frontman just said,
망가진 시설물은 최대한 빨리 복구해. VIP들이 곧 도착한다.
And yet someone decided they had enough time and squid power to set up this meat chandelier corpse-alabra.
피를 많이 흘렸어.
내 필요해.
혈액형은?
O형이야.
Convenient universal donor cliche. Want to watch a 2-minute montage of adults picking colored balls from an oversized gumball machine before you know the relevance of the balls? This episode thinks you do. The Reds are given knives instead of the obvious cost-saving strategy of making the red balls giant gobstoppers that they can use to brain the blue team.
괜찮아. 아직 뭐 하는지도 모르잖아.
I'm certain being on opposite sides of a game that is designed to dwindle numbers is not a problem at all. I've seen enough action movies where this human-to-human blood link-up works that I'm confident in saying this should not work.
저 인간들을 죽여야 되는 거잖아. 그것도 맨손으로.
그래, 이거는 말이 안 되지.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did the killing tournament inspired by kids' games on a deserted island with pink-suited guards and a literal piggy bank prize fund suddenly stop making sense?
빨간 팀은 받으신 칼로 파란 팀을 공격하시면 됩니다.
Is that all the knives do? Are you sure they can't summon unicorns too? Because it looks like they summon unicorns too. Or Link, maybe. Or a very small He-Man.
이거 달랑 열쇠 하나 줘놓고 이거 불공평하지?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did the killing tournament inspired by kids' games with gunpoint elections and no option to leave suddenly stop being fair? Would you look at that? The shaman lady and her followers all receive the same color balls. I'm not sure what the odds are on that, and I'm not going to look them up, but I know they are much more likely when they're written into existence. You can't really hear it, but someone in the background says, well, I don't know who's got it worse. And I'd like to ask that person how many times they've been brutally stabbed while playing hide and seek. Morality aside, I think the stabbers have it a lot easier than the stabbies. This show-stealing animal and its untold backstory that is now my new obsession.
아, 이 새끼 봤나 보네, 봤네. 근데 씨발 지 새끼만 가지고 구경한 거야?
Kink shaming.
준이야, 나랑 바꿔. 네가 열쇠 가지고 가. 그래야 우리 둘 다 살 수 있어.
Come on, ladies, just trying to get rid of his blue ball. It's a real thing. It could kill him if you don't hold his key.
그 칼 나한테 줘. 너랑 아이 지켜줄게, 준이야.
I'm really enjoying the social commentary packed into every single episode of Squid Game. And what really boosts it is this sudden chivalrous, I will fight for you are weak and carrying my child arc. Super nuanced. Couldn't live without it.
내가 최대한 빨리 한 명 탈락시키고 너 찾아갈게.
A solid plan, except there's no way for them to agree on a hiding place. This is relying on him being an outstanding seeker or her being a hider, which naturally comes with an obvious setback unless she is carrying everyone's child inside of her.
너랑 아이 지켜줄게, 준이야.
You can't even guarantee you can protect them for this game, let alone any of the games to come. Also, amazing how the partnerships we've been told to care about ended up with different colored balls.
왜? 나한테 왜 이래요?
왜 자꾸 그렇게 쳐다보냐고요? 뭐 이렇게 된 게 전부 다 내 탓이라는 거예요? 내가 뭘 그렇게 잘못했는데?
Asking 4 questions you already know the answer to. Also, there's something here about biting the hand that feeds you, like, don't scream at the hand that will shortly be stabbing you unless you're really good at hiding. I'll workshop it.
아까 출발하기 전에 통화했는데 집에 급한 일이 생겼대.
갑자기?
Well, yes. How many family emergencies have you had advanced notice of, Captain? Line cutters. Line stallers.
그럽시다. 자, 우리 다 같이 도와서 우리가 꼭 여기서 살아나갑시다.
And let's make sure to talk for the first 30 seconds of our 2-minute head start.
나 때문이야.
It is not. Also, designing a game of deadly hide-and-seek so complicated that it takes most of the episode to explain, leaving no time for actual hiding and or seeking. Saving someone's life only to immediately scare them to death.
왜 이래? 약속했잖아. 살려주면 나도 살려.
No, she said that if he died, you'd die. She said nothing about letting you live.
타노스 개 빨생.
Scene does not contain a Thor with a beer gut delivering this dialogue. In a show where there's hidden meaning behind even the pictures on the walls, the meaning behind these spikes down this hallway, but not down any other hallway, is gonna keep me up at night. Considering this door opens inward, it's very simple to keep it closed until the 30 minutes are over. Go inside, close the door, and sit on the floor with your hip pressed against where the door meets the latch side door jamb and with your torso resting against the door. Anyone who tries the door will think it's locked, and anyone who tries to force it open won't be able to. I never would have thought that having siblings would prepare me to survive a fight to the death, but here we are. Turning your Squid Game episode into a Scooby-Doo routine. All that's missing is a 60s pop song playing in the background.
잠자코 따라오든가 믿지 못하겠으면 지금 당장 꺼져.
Speaking quietly should also be a major part of this plan. When the only possibility of survival is to open doors and you spend all your time running around not opening doors.
아저씨 왜 안 가고 있어요?
A better question is, why are you leaving the door open? Hand signaling is actually a very effective and silent way of getting people to follow. Why is talking?
문마다 열쇠 구멍이 달라요. 동그라미, 세모, 네모 이렇게 세 가지인 것 같은데 우리 셋이 가진 열쇠가 딱 그렇게 세 가지예요.
These three conveniently being together and conveniently having each of the shapes needed for the keyholes is convenient.
화장실 갈 적부터 뭔가 우덜 셋이 잘 맞았잖아.
Oh, by my count, they have 6 stories worth of this murder maze and a good several dozen yards worth of sprinting space with side rooms and hiding places. Now, maybe each story is a different size, but we're still basically looking at a murder maze the size of Dunder Mifflin, and it's a miracle any red vest can't find a blue vest, let alone kill them in the 30-minute time frame. None of the other nearby players heard this door slam shut.
아내랑 얘기가 있어요. 제발요.
Thinking that being a married parent automatically constitutes your life being worth more than single child-free individuals. I know these drugs are illicit, but it makes me realize that no one is shown given prescription medication during the Squid Games. I know the whole thing only takes place in about a week, but a week without antidepressants, heart medications, or even stool softeners is bound to have an effect on the games.
너 비켜. 난 그냥 저녁만 죽이면 돼.
Since she's pregnant, does that mean if 2 taggers murdered her, they'd each get a pass? The episode ignores the fascinating philosophical conundrum in favor of more super exciting door opening. Episode forces me to Google how long it takes someone to die from a stab wound to the heart and makes me realize how every day I'm just one Google search away from the FBI at my doorstep. The Illuminati. This guy dies from 5 stabs to his shoulders? Scene does not contain one Dr. Samuel J. Loomis.
규칙이 한 명만 죽이면 통과라고 했지 한 명 이상 죽이면 안 된다고는 안 했어.
Bringing Airbud logic into your Squid Game.
빈 건가?
발목에 금이가 있을 수도 있어요.
Sure, because the pregnant contestant didn't already have enough of a handicap in this game.
짝짓기 게임할 때 세 명 들어갈 때처럼 같은 방에 들어갔었잖아요.
Expecting me to remember a side character from season 2, let alone whatever the Mingle was. With all the pain and difficulty that labor entails, I'm a firm believer that the woman's comfort should be priority number 2. Priority number 1 is guarding the door so the woman doesn't get stabbed to death. expecting your viewers to believe that water can break, labor be performed, and a baby born, all within the 15 minutes remaining in this game of hide and seek.
저 안에서 나의 부르는 소리가 들려.
Considering she hears dead people going to the door with the most voices, just seems like a bad idea. Illuma, not E.
내가 떨리고 있어.
No, it's shaking. A priestess should know the difference between shaking and vibrating. I know she's relieved the person she bumped into isn't trying to kill her, but there are 2 red vests still chasing her. In other words, premature relaxabration.
잡고 있는 거지. 388번. 니들 배신한 놈. 내가 그 놈을.
This works.
천재시오니. 감사합니다.
Being so presumptuous to think all the gods took time out of their day to help you get closer to winning a Squid Game. Marking walls so obviously that the hunters can follow the trail as well.
잘한 척하지 뭐.
여자니까
나 얘 좀 깨우고 좀 갈게.
마음대로 해.
Episode has time for this.
길은 어떻게 알아? 난 아무리 봐도 거기 갈 것 같은데.
멍청한. 난 보고 간 게 아니야. 천지신명님의 목소리를 듣는 거야.
While I can appreciate dedication to the long con, there are literally people hunting you. Can't reiterate it enough. It's been 5 minutes in game time. In 5 minutes, she had her water break, cervix dilated to 9 centimeters, and she pushed out a baby. Her first baby. Most women give birth in 24 to 48 hours after their water breaks. Cutting the cord without clamping it first. Episode doesn't know how to umbilical correctly. The baby being this loud when there are people trying to kill them. F***ing baby. Intimidation tactic aside, this is extremely unhygienic. You could win Squid Game only to fall victim to a blood-borne disease weeks later.
현주 씨.
출구를 찾았어요. 우리 다 같이 여기서 나갈 수 있어요.
Person prematurely celebrating victory right before being stabbed in the back. Cliché. After every death, an announcement over the speakers has happened almost immediately. Hyun-ju, however, didn't get any announcement when she died, because I guess the announcer decided that would ruin the dramatic tension.
현주 씨가 출구를 찾았다고 했어. 분명히 이 근처에 있을 거야.
그냥 끝날 때까지 여기 있으면 안 돼요?
여긴 위험해. 애기 소리 때문에 누가 또 올 거야.
Yes, because babies are so well known for being completely silent when people are running with them.
천지 씨. 감사합니다.
I love this betrayal right here. It's surprising, gives the ever-annoying Sunny-O her comeuppance, and genuinely made me laugh out loud. However, the instructions said that once a door is unlocked, it can't be relocked, which means there's no reason Sunny-O can't open the door and beat Jundae to death. In other words, Jundae survives this. Yet another barbecue I was not f***ing invited to. No, the masked men with the guns killed them all. Do you remember season 2 at all, Gi-hun? Yeah, I don't either.
진즉에 귀신이 됐어야 할 놈이 남의 목숨을 빌려서 살아남았구나.
Yet again, we have Sunny-O insulting someone with a knife in their hand, and she doesn't immediately get stabbed.
윤수야.
Hallucinating that you're avenging your friend's murder, only to hallucinate that you murdered your friend. This is exactly why I don't do hallucinogens often. Bringing a shoe to a knife fight. Bringing a shoe to a knife fight and winning? Watching Gi-hun go from hero to being absolutely broken like this is just heartbreaking and really speaks to the power and appeal of this show's writing. Go ahead and take one more sin off for an amazing performance from Lee Jung-jae. Could that knife be shot away without piercing through Gi-hun's throat in the process? Probably. Am I still going to send the Squid Game lackey for being extremely lucky here? Yes. Yes, I am. Starting a 3rd episode with previously on disguised in a death shawl of the recently deceased. Someone assumes we need reminding of the things that just happened as if we aren't binging these episodes back to back.
Mamma mia.
That's racist. Seriously, this guy isn't even from New York.
Damn, that was close. Good thing I like to go hunting.
This sudden change in language and its lack of f***ing subtitles. The subs come back if you select the English dub with subtitles, but if people with hearing challenges want to watch the Korean dub, how are they supposed to know what the characters are saying in English? How are they supposed to laugh at the oh-so-witty repartee with the appropriate amount of gusto? Also, I'm pretty sure the English-speaking characters are having their audio needlessly dubbed, replacing their English dialogue with English dialogue that is incredibly distracting.
참아. 시간이 없어.
We do not. And yet this subplot continues.
배가 고파서 그래. 할 수 있겠어?
Oh, great. Now we've got CGI babies taking the jobs of hardworking Americans in our South Korean streaming imports. Also, awkward timing aside, this birth and all the subsequent postnatal activities have gone very smoothly. You couldn't script a childbirth this perfect. Oh.
It was like I was a Maasai tribesman stalking the African wilderness.
I know we're supposed to hate these people, but I feel like the writing is going overboard to the point where I'm starting to pity them. It's like a writer is bullying them into being as horrible as possible. I think Usak should perhaps consider that no one was giving him information because a stranger frantically asking around a fish market about a random fisherman is itself pretty suspicious.
Oh, it's time for the voting.
Ruining a nice meal by introducing a jumbotron. There's a reason you don't eat a steak dinner at a basketball game.
Watching the voting this year? So fun.
Oh, it was more exciting than the actual games.
This is more about the lackluster creation of this year's games than the intrinsic excitement contained within a well-organized democratic vote.
1.7 billion won is over $1 million.
It took 2.5 seasons for Squid Game to get anyone without Google access caught up on what is actually being played for.
96번.
The show will now make me watch the super exciting process of voting again for the billionth time. Only now with fewer characters that I know and recognize, forcing me to second screen like a heathen. Thanks, Squid Game, for making me the villain. There's no stopping death, taxes, and an autocracy masquerading as a democracy. Apparently. Thinking that a child's life matters more than any of the adults who died in previous rounds. Or, you know, that any of the legit criminals in the room will give a shit one way or the other. Okay, I officially have no idea how these scanners work. When they're registering the dead players, they scan their neck, where presumably some kind of RFID chip is. But what's with the full body scan? Are there pink jumpsuits coded to each guard? Why do they scan their head? Are they going to 3D print a new guard? Also, this device's screen says scanner, despite having one simple function as a scanner, and scan completed, despite that being obvious from the scan results displayed in the center of the screen. This just makes it seem like the editors needed to fill the screen with other text and didn't quite know what else to add. Convenient vents large enough to sustain a human's weight and lead to sensitive areas of the squid tank are convenient.
선장님, 배를 저쪽 해변에 최대한 가까이 대주세요.
거기는 암초가 많아가지고 위험해.
부탁드려요. 꼭 확인해 볼 게 있어요.
Oh. Well, as long as you need to check something, I'm sure the reefs will understand and become less dangerous. They're usually pretty chill as long as you're just checking things. Plain potatoes? No butter? No chives? No sour cream? No crumbly bacon bits? The level of cruelty in this competition is unreal.
지금부터 너는 이 아이만 생각해야 돼. 딴 생각 아무것도 하지 말고 너랑 이 아이만 생각해.
The patriarchy.
11번. 여기 있습니다.
Damn it, I told them we were going to get f***ing die-hearted if we installed vents that big, and did anyone listen to me? No, they didn't. Waiting until Season 3 to introduce characters with teleportation powers.
다 자기 탓이라고 생각하시는 거예요.
Appropriately so. As someone who set out to end the games and save lives, he is batting an even 0%, I think. I don't really know how golf works.
못된 놈들은 나쁜 짓을 해놓고도 남 탓하면서 맘 편히 사는데 착한 사람들은 뭐가 조금만 잘못되어도 다 자기 탓을 하면서 막 가슴을 좆뜯어요.
Plagiarizing the Book of Ecclesiastes.
병원까지 뛰면서 하느님한테 막 빌었어요. 이놈만 살려주시면 뭐든지 다 하겠다고. 불구덩이라도 뛰어들려면 뛰어들겠다고. 그런데요, 선생님, 그놈을 내가 죽였네요.
King Shim is so fucking good in this scene. He absolutely nails the grief of a tormented mother and is a highlight of Squid Game's latter half. I hope we aren't left hanging too long before we see more scenes with her.
내 자식 새끼를 죽였어요.
Mistaking Gi-hun for a priest and this bunk for a confessional.
그치만 저 깐난쟁이가 뭔 죄가 있겠습니까?
Risking a debate over the theological merits of original sin.
아기를 좀 선생님이 좀 살려주세요.
Just to be clear, you're asking the handcuffed guy who has voluntarily returned to the games after winning and who got half of the room killed in an ill-planned revolt for help with the baby? That guy? Well, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. Creating a hole big enough for the dog chasing you to jump through. Hiding that filthy metal key directly under food and ruining this piece of bread instead of just tucking it under the plate.
넌 수술실에 다시 내려가 봐.
무슨 문제가
있으니까. 아무래도 이상해. 앞뒤가 맞잖아. 가서 놓친 게 없는지 다시 확인해.
I'm sure you would have scanned all the bodies and checked the tiny room for anything obvious, like the remnants of a blood transfusion haphazardly strewn about, but you head back down just on the off chance you weren't being a fucking dumbass on that first pass. Seriously, how do these scanners work? Why are they starting on the chest and not just focusing on his face? Are the dude's nips in a database somewhere? I mean, they're perfectly fine, nice nips, but still. The dog is loose. Bad. But you have a gun. Good. Take the gun out and shoot the dog before it bites the shit out of you. Or just stare. That's an option too. Not what I would have picked. Not viable, but absolutely an option. Why are you showing me a bloody dog corpse? I don't need to see that. I don't care if it's Cujo or John Wick's dog. Never show me dead dogs on the screen. I mean, sure, the dog mauled my arm off, but now I've been gifted with this convenient reveal of an incriminating stash under the doghouse. You know what they say. The Squid Lord giveth and the Squid Lord doth taketh away. Also, why the f would they let Park bring his Squid Guard uniform off the island? I thought they all got changed in that big truck thing at the start of season 2. This is so explicitly stupid in its incriminating nature that now I don't know whose side Captain Park is on.
경찰이다! 움직이지 마! 천천히 일어서!
Which one is it, officer? Don't move or stand up slowly. Look, I get it. Babies suck. They have huge heads, they take forever to learn how to walk, and they're awful at dinner parties. But seriously, you should have left it in bed. You're in a murder competition. Murder! That's no place for a baby. Even a CGI one.
잘못하면 아이가 다쳐.
He's right. The baby could get hurt. Best to give it to the guy who watched every friend in his orbit die.
There's a saying that God created mothers because he couldn't be everywhere at once.
I don't believe a single human being on the planet has ever said those words prior to you here and now.
평생 내 옆에 있어줄 가족이 생기는 거라고.
Well, you are technically correct, but despite that being the best kind of correct, it doesn't protect you from the sin of bringing a baby into a deadly obstacle course.
나한테도 딸이 있었어.
Gi-hun remembers he has a daughter at the exact same time I did.
A mother will do anything to save her child.
You just disproved this in the last episode when Gumjar killed her child to protect someone else's baby.
This might turn 222 into some kind of Marvel superhero.
Like Wonder Woman?
That's actually a DC superhero?
This is real dialogue that someone got paid to write for one of the most popular television shows in the world.
이번 게임은 줄넘기입니다.
Really scraping the bottom of the barrel for children's games, aren't you? It's almost like this show wasn't meant to run for 3 seasons. Also, we need to talk about just how big this facility/island is. Some of the zones and structures here are absolutely massive. The scale of this play area and some parts of the last one are absolutely ridiculous. Like, did they Thunderbirds this entire mountain? Phew! The drugs are still here, just like they were the last 5 times I checked.
지금 이곳에 있는 여러분 모두
Except the masked guards, right? Boom. Lawyered. Forcing the rich people to look extra rich with these tiny binoculars instead of giving them a TV to watch the death games they're sponsoring.
아기 먼저 데리고 가주세요.
Dumping your child at the first sign of inconvenience.
쫄려? 어? 새끼야?
Something deep inside my spleen, where I bury my emotions, is telling me I should be feeling some kind of hoorah sentiment towards Minsu for finally getting one up on his terrorizer. If only he hadn't sat back and watched See Me Die and then gone on a pill binge and killed another human. If only, maybe I'd be feeling those feelings in my kidney. Mr. Squid Game's writer, I think you mixed up your symbolism. The tomb is supposed to be empty, not the cross.
잠시만요.
Rumor has it the actor playing Myung-gi only had to be on set 8 seconds when they filmed this episode. They just asked him to look at Junhee real sad, and then green screened it into every other scene.
바로 데리러 갈게.
Assuming the guards who allowed a baby to take part in a game of altitude jump rope will play fair when you abandon said baby.
게임하지.
If you're this guy, wouldn't you check that this doesn't count as breaking the rules first? The Squid Guards just allowed a baby to enter the game, so they don't exactly play fair. Unless I missed the part of the intro that said, oh, and feel free to push your competitors into the abyss once they followed the actual rules of the game.
Wow. This just keeps getting more and more interesting.
Counterpoint, cutting away from the game to watch these really bad actors provide useless commentary is the antithesis of interesting. Using the same style of kick that Gerard Butler typically reserves for Persian messengers. My weekly exchange with my 5th grade PE teacher somehow makes it into the episode.
저 아이 내 아이야.
Right now, that baby is the property of whoever claims it, because it was placed on a bench and left without supervision 20 minutes ago. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the VIPs scooped her up and entered her in a death match for the rights to Charlie Bucket's chocolate factory. Ruining your sneak attack by yelling. There's just something about Junhee's resignation that is deeply dissatisfying. Yes, your ankle is busted, and yes, it's a jumping challenge, but just maybe there's a chance. A small chance of survival is worth a shot, no? Also, the show had to kill off 3 likable and interesting characters to give Gi-hun this baby, and I'm awarding a sin for each one. Episode doesn't think I would believe that they scanned these soldiers and then assigned them to watch the perimeter unless they showed me all the scanning and assigning in real time. Sure, but only because the show has been forcing me to do so for the past minute and a half. Well, that and the sunk cost fallacy.
That's the first time you looked attractive with your mouth open.
I'd be much happier with the VIPs if they were seen and not heard. Every time they open their mouths, I want to chop my ears off, which is more appropriate for a Saw game than it is for a Squid Game.
Player 222 is back from the dead, thanks to her baby.
She is not.
This is a bigger twist than the resurrection of Jesus.
Actually, Jesus spoiled his encore on multiple occasions, so I wouldn't say it was much of a twist. More like just fulfilling the promise of the trailer. No, she jumped off the ledge beside the bridge. Thanks for making me relive that for the sake of pedantry.
지금 저 애가 222번이라고?
Episode just waded into a discussion about personhood, when it begins, and its economic implications, so it could contribute the groundbreaking idea that killing babies for prize money is uncool.
저 애새끼는 갑자기 나타나서 참가자가 되고 우리랑 똑같이 상금을 나눠 갖는 게.
Thinking this baby showed up out of nowhere when it was just the only one smart enough to choose the gestation strategy. It's too bad they didn't get proof of concept when there were still some wombs around. However, you are now surrounded by assholes.
그래 맞아 탈락. 맞아. 저 애도 탈락이야.
Players 353 and 203 would take the kids are terrible jokes way too far at TVSins.
참가자들 사이의 물리적 폭력 행위는 더 이상 용납하지 않겠습니다.
These rule changes are getting all willy-nilly to the point that it's hard to understand how the VIPs are still entertained by any of it. Like, imagine if they literally moved the goalpost in the middle of the Super Bowl, right before replacing the ball with a newborn baby. Sure, it's unexpected and maybe even intriguing, but none of the players know how to get one of those to do a spiral. I hope.
저희가 특별한 선물을 준비했습니다.
Gi-hun never stopped to think about the fact that these games appear to be propping up the decorative ribbon industry or the economic fallout that would be caused by ending the games.
정가만 구범이고 이제 절도에 동물보호법 위반까지 10손가락 꽉 채우셨어.
Not yet, he hasn't. Being charged with a crime isn't the same as being convicted of one. Also, how does he not have a gun charge pending for the weapon that he certainly does not have a permit for?
이 잡는 사람이 밤낮이 어디 있단가?
That's nocturnist.
아 여기 시방 무진경찰서인데요. 그 박 선장님 집에 그 절도 사건이 발생해갖고 연락드렸습니다.
Captain Park gets better cell phone reception this far out to sea than I do at the beach.
아니 뭐 선장님이 그 사람들을 그 섬으로 이렇게 납치해갖고 거기서 살인 게임을 하는 뭐 범죄단체 소속이라고.
This cop needs to do less moving the plot forward and more letting the man know about the murder of his dog.
아, 옛날에 같이 배 타던 친구인데 밤새 꿈자리가 사납다고 조심하라네.
Trying to make us jealous because our friends refuse to let us talk about my dreams in our group chat. Maybe they're boring and weird and gross, but what if they're portents of doom? Huh? They could be mystical omens. You don't know.
자, 얼굴 대.
This works. Also, was this even necessary? Would the cops have a problem with him telling the lawyer all the same stuff that he just told them?
선장님, 라면 드실래요?
야, 선장님 드신대. 하나만 더 꺼내봐.
Doing murder instead of just saying, no thank you, I already ate.
지금 그 길 간다고 네가 뭘 할 수 있을 것 같아?
This is a good point, since Junho is down to 1.5 men now. And we've been following around these guys for 2 seasons to ultimately see them accomplish absolutely nothing outside of eating ramen and flying drones.
여러분들을 위한 술과 음식은 충분히 준비되어 있습니다.
Characters get a big fancy last meal before being sent off to die. Cliché.
No need to worry. The final game will definitely take place.
How can you be so sure?
The obvious answer is that there are still 2 episodes left and 9 people alive, but the show will continue to act like it has something to do with the inevitabilities of human nature.
They have no reason to vote no. If they know for sure they'll survive.
That's just it. How can any of these guys at this point confidently say that they know for sure anything at all about the games? Even Gi-hun, with all his knowledge of the previous games, has been caught off guard by sudden changes. Front's trying to play this off as if he's banking on the hubris of the players, when he's really placing his bets on the hope that no major changes have been made to the script.
지금 그러니까 이 중에서 최소 3명만 탈락시키면 되고 누가 탈락할지도 다 우리끼리 결정할 수 있다. 그 말이 그죠?
The last 2 minutes of this episode have been people repeating the same questions and answers over and over again. This is why it's an hour long. Netflix tossing around ideas for a gritty reboot of the Brady Bunch. Thinking that I'll be slightly less bored by the 100th vote I've had to sit through if you dress the players up in tuxedos.
222번은 의사결정 능력이 없는 관계로 기권으로 처리하겠습니다.
Underestimating CGI babies, and not thinking that the dance in Ally McBeal was a clear and decisive decision.
제대로 먹어보자고.
You were already feasting, and you've been at it for like 20 minutes now.
与其跟你喝酒，我倒不如跟我的小洞子喝。
Ooh, that sounds sexy. What does that mean?
Netflix didn't provide subtitles for this phrase in English or Korean because it knew I would skip any more conversations between these two, unless I had to stick around to find out what was said.
I'd rather drink with my footstool than with you.
That is what was said.
그 섬엔 분명히 살아있는 사람들이 있을 겁니다.
Most of whom would kill you for trying to rescue them at this point.
제 형이 그 섬에 있습니다. 지금 아니면 다시는 그 섬을 찾을 수 없을지도 모릅니다.
Is he suggesting that the island moves? Does it have a frozen wheel at its orchid station to manipulate its electromagnetic energy? We get to see the ignition turned and the throttle engaged, but I would have expected mooring from a sea-themed show such as this one. Instead, they've treated this vessel like it was a parked car.
저기 125번 약쟁이노.
Minsu's sudden addiction turn was a strange side quest for Season 3 and proof that as an education program aimed to prevent the misuse of controlled drugs, Squid Game is as effective as the DARE program.
저 애가 들어온 게 오히려 우리한테 더 잘된 거구만.
I'm sure there's a powerful metaphor about the power of greed somewhere in here, but for most of this episode, the message I'm getting has been men will gang up and try to murder a baby for a giant piggy bank instead of going to therapy. Obvious tracker is so obvious that I don't believe they didn't spot this thing, even without looking. However, the sin is trusting this boat and not checking for trackers or bombs for that matter.
빨리 가. 안개가 걷히기 전에 섬에서 멀리 달아나야 돼.
Episode knows the things I say as the camera zooms in on my face right before I tuck and roll from a moving vehicle and right through the front door of a Taco Bell into the waiting arms of a beefy 5-layer burrito.
그분이 부르셔.
Playing the pronoun game with a sleep-deprived parent. Gi-hun left the baby in a room full of people who wanted to kill it before dinner. I'm no longer convinced he deserves a second chance at being a dad.
사소하기에는 긴 얘기야.
It won't take a while, mostly because the episode is almost over, and we'll be left with questions about why In-ho was expecting a lengthy debate.
날 죽이고 싶나? 그럼 그렇게 해.
Just once, I'd like to see Gi-hun forget he's the main character long enough to do something unpredictable and interesting. Maybe he doesn't kill In-ho here, because that would ruin a whole subplot that I've invested too much time in to not get a payoff. But, for example, he could smack In-ho in the face, pop a squat on the coffee table, and take a dump while holding eye contact. Just saying there are other options aside from brooding and walking away all sad.
변하는 건 없을 거야. 누군가 내 자리를 대신할 거고.
Downplaying someone else's promotion like this isn't the opportunity of a lifetime. Or, more appropriately, the opportunity to end hundreds of other people's lifetimes.
너와 아이는 살아서 여길 나가게 될 거야. 내가 약속하지.
The last 10 minutes of this episode are just untrustworthy people making promises. And I'd hardly call that exciting television.
아직도 사람을 믿나?
Gi-hun doesn't answer this question with, yes, I've met several people who were worthy of my faith, but they all died in this stupid competition, which is why I want to end it so badly. I believe that, in theory, a human could have climbed this rock face. However, I do not believe a human climbed this rock face as presented, pink boiler suit and all. I feel like the actor playing Noel listed adventuring in the hobbies and interests section of the resume, and someone in the production team took that as a challenge. The continuing uncanny cuteness of this baby.
뭘 망설이는 거지?
Nothing. It's just I'm pretty sure you're a shiny Pokemon and I'm looking for the right Pokeball. Squid teases. Not that I want to see Gi-hun stab someone in the throat, but if it does happen, I want to be confident in my displeasure, damn it.
아저씨. 그러지 마, 아저씨.
Dead friend appears to be the ghost of Christmas conscience. Cliche. Come out to our secret island, we'll kill some trash, have a few laughs. Oh, and if we made that joke before, sorry, it's because Squid Game keeps repeating itself too.
더 이상 이 게임에 대해서 알려고 하면 죽어. 그럼 날 죽여야 할 거야.
To be fair, he's been trying to do exactly that, but you keep getting last-minute contrived reprieves as if someone is desperate to make you part of someone else's finale. Sleeping in your clothes is uncomfortable enough, but 333 has his bow tie on, and these two are still wearing their suit coats. How did they not die in their sleep? This facility is huge, and she finds the exact place she's looking for in less than lost in a rat maze until she starves amounts of time. Hiding with a gun, but not having that gun in your hand. Also, he shut the water off and almost immediately exited the bathroom in his robe. Did he not towel off? Does his robe double as a towel? Did he get out, towel off, put on the robe, and then turn off the water? This is the most compelling mystery of season 3.
이게 전부입니까?
그래. 메인 서버에 있는 기록까지 다 지웠어.
Believing anything this man has to say when you have zero means of verifying it. There are many discussions online about how they'd need too many people staffing the facility for it to remain a secret. My personal theory is that many, including these two soldiers, are mannequins to keep up appearances. And since this is my video, my theory is correct. As we watch the VIPs be gross and rich, I have to take some time to talk about the most offensive thing in this scene. These ridiculous tables. They need to be at least waist height, or you're going to be bending down to put down your drink or to pick up snacks. Or worse, constantly shinning yourself. My own private Squid Game. Truly. It never ceases to amaze me how often people are undone by the sheer lack of realization that guns can, I hear, kill people without the nozzle actually touching them. Close quarters martial arts combat looks so good when it's not cut to hell. No one hears or sees this on any elevator cams. This Death Island is less secure than a casino.
마지막 게임은 고공 오징어 게임입니다.
Roll Sky Squidmercials. Ah, yes, that famously below-the-belt sensitive spot that immediately floors most men. The upper quadricep. I know the knight looks cooler, but how are these players Hokins, not pawns?
왜 이렇게까지 하는 거야?
Because this season demanded that the A plot be backed up by a B plot, 2 C plots, and whatever Gi-hun is doing.
난 네가 이 안에 누구보다 널 잘 이해할 거라고 생각했다. 나도 너처럼 거기서 가장 소중한 사람을 잃었으니까.
I must have missed the like-for-like trauma leads to a philosophical alignment regarding unethical competitions module in my Psych 101 class.
내 고통 없이 보내줄게.
Villain promises to make it a quick and painless death while literally taking all the time they possibly can, making it very painful for us. He decides to stab her in the kidney, brag about finishing her off, and allows her to slowly crawl to the elevator where she can grab a gun they were fighting over a mere 5 minutes ago. A gun he completely forgot about. Bravo! You're now the proud owner of the dumbest death in the show award, beating out all those people who died licking cookies back in season 1.
네모와 세모 그리고 동그라미 이 세 개의 기둥에서
But if we draw a line on the side of this pillar, like this, and pivot it to the top, like this, we see that they aren't on a square, they're on a rectangle. And considering the attention to detail they've had up to this point, I feel like this is an oversight that should not have been oversighted.
밀어내기 게임을 하게 됩니다. 첫 번째로 지금 서 계신 네모 기둥에서
Trust me when I say that the redundancy of these instructions goes on for all the some time. They could have explained round 1 and simply said this applies to all 3 pillars, but nope, they say the same rules for all 3 pillars. Fortunately, that means I can send them 3 times. This is a sin for someone not immediately putting Minsu out of my misery.
바닥에 있는 버튼을 눌러주세요.
They've never had to press a button to start a round before. Will this change have any impact on how the game is played? Nope.
투표로 합시다. 지금까지 게임 속행 여부도 쭉 투표로 결정해 왔잖아요. 그러니까 여기서도 누가 탈락할지 민주적으로 투표로 결정합시다.
Under the guise of democracy, a self-appointed group elects candidates and then votes on which candidate to eliminate, all for financial gain provided by their unfeeling overlords. Glad this isn't real life.
이 양반이 밖에서 애들 가르쳤다더니 말이야.
Okay, being so underpaid and undervalued can instill a sense of reckless abandonment in a person. Makes sense why he's lasted so long.
222번은 솔직히 이미 탈락한 사람인데 이게 말이 안 되잖아요. 이건 솔직히 불공평한 거죠.
Right! It's a ridiculous situation and is super unfair to the baby. You do mean it's unfair for the baby, right?
이유는 모르겠지만 쉽게 포기할 것 같지 않아요.
I don't know why this guy won't let us smash this defenseless creature against the ground before it's even gotten a chance to live.
It looks like they're switching up the order.
According to the clock, it took 9.5 minutes for them to decide who to eliminate, meaning the VIPs are just watching them with no audio. That's more boring than watching Waterworld with audio.
잘못한 거 알았으니까 그냥 후련하게 뛰어내려.
Encouraging someone to jump when the instructions explicitly said they needed to be pushed. That clock is running down too quickly. Unless... Please tell me I haven't been watching this for 15 minutes already. Just in case any of you felt a smidgen of joy figuring out that the shiny-headed front man at the top of the episode was Ilnam from season 1, the show decides to shove it down your throat with this uncanny valley affront to subtlety. He was telling the truth about the hard copies? Why? A computer database can be easily wiped in an emergency. Hard copies are only useful to the prosecution when the VIPs are tried for crimes against humanity. Did we sin writing the labels of the binders in English when the rest of their contents are in Korean in a previous video? We did? Season 1, huh? Well, this is season 3, so it gets us in here too. How did that speedboat catch up with him? Is it just a faster speedboat? There are more people in it, so I think it should be going slower. They're able to shoot the engine instantly, but are completely unable to even graze Cancer Dad. He actually killed one of his attackers. It's 3-on-1, and the guy who draws portraits in an amusement park is winning. The way these two throw scissors. Playing strip, rock, paper, scissors, not inviting me.
246번 탈락.
That's what happens when you try to do a quippy one-liner instead of just shooting a fool. But also, he gets shot in the shoulder and dies. Did they put this video game bad guy on easy mode? Oh look, my two favorite subplots come crashing together and... Wait, let's see. Ah, yes. I still don't care.
전 그 아이를 살리려고 그런 거예요. 제 아이예요.
I mean, who saw that coming?
Wait, so they now do have audio? Then why isn't it just on a giant-ass TV? Unless they're lip reading? I am so confused. How is this the complicated part of the show, guys?
저도 준이 데리고 여기서 나가려고 했어요. 근데 준이가 저를 믿어주지 않았어요.
Unnecessary flashback to literally the previous episode is unnecessary.
제가 이 게임의 정답을 찾았어요. 도시락을 시작하는 겁니다. 여기 이놈을 반쯤 죽여가지고 저기 동그라미 위로 끌고 가서 시작 버튼 딱 누르고 아래로 던져버리면.
Good plan, but you should have waited until you got to the other tower. I mean, good luck dragging him across that narrow pathway while he's struggling and or seizing from a brain contusion. Grabbing the hair before defining a safe word. This is what I would do if I were about to be pushed off the roof of a giant square. I'd go limp. Can't push me off the side like that. Yeah, go ahead. Kick me and hit me with your metal tube. But I'm not budging, baby.
나눠 가주세요.
Player 100 is despicable, and having him beg for his life is cathartic. But I crave more catharsis. I need more justice, and Squid Game isn't interested in handing any of it out.
당신이 빠지면
Stop him, Gi-hun. He's killing someone purely for the money, and you hate that slightly more than people who don't bring you ammo in a prompt fashion. I'm sorry, don't laugh. Someone just got murdered. Nor the fabulously artistic pose the director chose for this death. Sorry, don't laugh.
미안하지만 난 니들 도시락이 돼줄 생각이 없어.
I mean, you still got a pulse. You got a chance. Imagine sacrificing yourself just to satisfy a writer's desire for a clean 1v1 in the finale. You just NPC'd yourself, my man. Juno killed those other squid guards with extreme prejudice, but somehow spared this squid guard as if he knew he was a good squid guard. And my tone and emphasis should make it clear I think this is bullshit.
저는 한패가 아닙니다.
My friend, you haven't been one of anything this entire past 2 seasons, and yet you'll be one of the few happy endings we see.
저놈들한테서
If I was tracking an underground organization whose entire function is to play games and trick people, I might suspect that this is exactly the type of lie they'd come up with to save their skin. I also wouldn't be surprised if they implanted themselves with a player chip to really sell the point. While limited in its application, Park Hyung-suk sure does know how to use this font clearing ability to dramatic effect.
아이는 괜찮아요?
In the short time this child's been alive, it's been fed once, likely soiled itself, and is currently being swaddled in the bloody rags of his mother and a stranger. So no, the baby is not okay.
아이만 넘겨.
The way this is presented makes me feel like I'm supposed to be shocked that the character who spent the entire show self-servingly betraying people has once again self-servingly betrayed someone. My fitness tracker is telling me that, yep, heartbeat is still at resting, no shock detected.
설마 네 손으로 이 아이를 죽이고 그 돈을 가지고 여길 나가겠다고.
Gi-hun tells us the stakes for the rest of the episode instead of the show just showing us the stakes for the rest of the episode. A sin for whoever's meticulously maintaining these game pieces even though no one is looking at them.
잠시 가보셔야겠습니다.
I fully believe that once upon a time the refrain "we have a situation" worked as a non-threatening euphemism to provide a covert heads up without alerting anyone who might be listening. In the year of our Lord 2025, "we have a situation" is about the most alarming things these VIPs could hope to hear. The thing about paper is that it burns really well without a fire starter. In fact, paper is often used as a fire starter. So quit wasting the good booze. Also, while destroying 246's file might prevent them from tracking his daughter, assuming there are no other copies on a different island managed by Kate Blanchett, aren't you actually doing them a favor by burning all of this, well, let's call it evidence, just for fun? This is a list of all the players, save a few winners, who have died on this island. Frontman might actually give her a raise for doing this.
위치 섬에서 1km 북쪽 해상입니다.
Nothing says this was dubbed for American audiences like changing a clear pronunciation of
km
to mile in the subtitles. USA! USA! Leftover imperial measurements that are difficult to remember and practically apply. I mean, USA!
현재 레이더상에는 느리게 다가오고 있습니다.
Approaching slowly, you say? Thank you. I'll make sure to be prepared sometime in the future.
혼자 괜찮겠어요?
Honestly, this character has had so little agency in this story that I'm not even sure he has a self to be alone with.
해경이 도착하면 전부 사실대로 얘기하세요. 일이 끝나면 모든 책임은.
Take responsibility for what? The 3 dead guards and all the other corpses on the boat that you didn't kill? What a strange sword to fall on.
내가 왜 이런 족같은 데까지 온 줄 알아? 당신 같은 새끼들한테 존나게 속아서 그래.
Bastards like what? Nice bastards who try to save babies? Terrible bastards who manipulate inexperienced innocents into a militia? I'm failing to see what Myung-gi has witnessed Gi-hun do that could possibly relate to him being here.
이 아이 지켜주겠다고.
약속? 누구랑 준이랑? 당신 준이랑 무슨 사이야?
Show has time for this sudden and jarring jealousy rage that goes nowhere and does nothing for nobody. Or pulling a Ross and Rachel, as we call it at TVSins. I feel like the VIPs will be upset when their entertainment goes up in smoke just because Il-nam cheaped out on a fire suppression system. Premature dropped the pole instead of keeping it on Gi-hun so he doesn't jump across capitulation. Slow motion because of a badass stunt, or badass stunt because of slow motion? Discuss. All Kyung-suk told Jun-ho was the direction of the island. How on earth did he know about the secret water tunnel entrance? I'm not sure why No-ul needs a recap of her own life. I'm not even sure why we need a recap when the vast majority of this is information we've already inferred or been outright told. The fact that this contrived press button to start the game shtick was introduced purely so that we'll be concerned the fight that these two are having to fight is meaningless. Show doesn't realize I already assumed the fight was meaningless. Also, I'm not sure how Gi-hun's arrival changes anything for Myung-gi. His plan was to throw the baby over the edge and win. So why waste time with Gi-hun when the end of the games is still just a toe-punted infant away? The suggestions in this sin are meant for comedic purposes only and should not be taken as an endorsement by the narrator, TVSins, or any of its subsidiaries. Any relation to real events or people are purely coincidental. Please keep out of reach of children, teens, and YouTube comments lacking a sense of humor. In this shot, Gi-hun is using one hand to push up Myung-gi's stabbing hand, but in the next shot, Gi-hun is pushing up both of Myung-gi's stabbing hands. Noticing that continuity flub is the most excited I've been all season. Deus ex rebarina. Also, show squanders the frankly exorbitant amount of sin removals I would have given it if this is where Gi-hun's story ended and the episode was suddenly renamed Humans Are Clumsy.
Oh, putain, someone is climbing back up.
Again, why are billionaires accepting the fact that they need to stand by the edge of a window and use opera glasses to view it all? And with no audio. If I was said bajillionaire with a taste for murder, frankly, I'd want my money back for this poor viewing experience.
That's 456.
No one's ever won it twice before, right?
Premature and presumptuous win twice abration. Being a highly secretive cabal of death game organizers who also prioritize branding their spy drones.
해경 함정입니다.
Hold on a second. Earlier, Junho said,
해경에 연락했어요. 여기 위치 보냈으니까 2시간 안에 이쪽으로 올 겁니다.
How the f has it been 2 hours already? We know that Gi-hun and Myung-gi were arguing about the baby for no more than 5 minutes before Gi-hun jumped across because the show gave us this handy timer, which means that they were fighting on the final platform for almost 2 hours. I mean, the pacing sure made it feel that way, but I do not believe that to be literally the case. Someone appears to be trying to make me feel sorry for the person who slaughtered a bunch of people earlier in the series that she considered trash without making amends in any real way. I understand the poetry of the moment, I really do, but given that he is losing blood, tired, and probably lightheaded right about now, he could very easily trip, wobble, or pass out, and this would be about to be a very different ending.
우린 말이 아니야. 사람이야.
Even if the VIPs can hear him, I wouldn't be surprised if they all screamed, "Ah, a talking horse!" Ihun, my friend, they do not give a shit, and your beautiful sentiment is wasted. However, this direct eye contact to the camera suggests that the message is aimed at us, the audience, not anyone in the show. Thank God, too, because the missile into my soul has really enlightened me to the fact that killing babies is wrong as is betting on human fight clubs. You know, the life just doesn't teach you. This is a bunch of explosives down a random access tunnel. Why the does it have an Acme countdown timer on it? Also, show now seems to be actively trying to make No Ool's subplot redundant by blowing up the paperwork she spent all that time setting fire to. It's official, the most endearing mystery of the Squid Games will go completely unanswered. The jazz puppets and the unholy pit from whence I'm certain they spawned. After 2 seasons, Junho has finally made his way back to the island, just in time to see it blow up and experience none of the catharsis of confronting his brother and exposing the games. Why did I invest any emotions into this show?
형! 왜 그랬어?
Do what? Shoot you? Save you? Doomed hundreds of people to grisly deaths for the entertainment of scumbag billionaires? You gotta be specific. Your brother's been busy. Giving all your vehicles the same paint job and license plate. Somehow the Coast Guard will miss these helicopters and giant ferry filled with armed assailants. Also, the entire dock isn't even attempting to be hidden. The fact that Junho used satellite imaging for 3 years and still couldn't find the island with a blatant dock on it means he gets a sin for absolutely sucking at having eyeballs. Show thinks it can slow pan nostalgia me into thinking the killing fields of seasons 2 and 3 are something I'm going to miss.
전에 어디서 한번 뵌 적이 있는 것 같아서요.
Character oblivious to previous relationship with other character who we watched have an entire relationship across many episodes can't quite place latter character now that the traumatic events are over. Cliché.
왔어.
Is she just running around this very crowded amusement park by herself while her dad draws people? Either South Korean amusement parks are the safest places in the world or this guy sucks as a father. We know the truth here.
건강해 보이네요.
네. 주위에 여러분들이 도와주셔가지고요.
So his daughter is now all better? He went in the games in the first place because he didn't have any money. And although he came out alive, he came out in the same financial position without money, right? Like, I'm glad this little girl's okay, but how?
너무 놀라지 말고 들어. 중국에서 노을씨 딸을 봤다는 사람이 있어.
Don't worry, this is what happens when you have the climax of your episode in the first 20 minutes, and the rest is just, well, a lot of things not to freak out about. Nope. That picture was on fire before she sat in the chair with the gun and had a change of heart. I'm sorry, but that picture's long gone. I'm also not actually sorry.
회사님.
Woo Seok served the full 6 months in jail even though he was telling the truth about the fisherman? The fisherman who killed like 8 people and was part of a huge crime organization? Did they actually tell the Coast Guard any of that? Did the Coast Guard do anything? Did the cops do anything? The answer is no, but I find it ridiculous, so I will keep asking the questions.
사실 뭐 6개월이면 잠깐 쉬고 나온 거지.
Nice to know that Netflix is giving a nice little boost to the rest and relaxation one can get in, checks notes, prison? Wait, did he leave the baby at home while he went to the ATM? Why is Clippy's Korean ATM cousin shaking its ass at me and why am I enjoying it? Sweet! Junho is rich now, like he always wanted. Wait, that was never once mentioned as a motivation for him. What was it he actually wanted and worked towards for 3 seasons? Who cares? Money's all that matters. Also, let's say that Inho did remember what the show has forgotten. He just gave Junho billions of won and is just assuming that he won't use those resources to continue a quest that he has spent years pursuing without access to 45.6 billion won? Man, he really doesn't think much of his brother at all, does he? Also, it's been 6 months since everything went down, so where has the baby been all this time? Have they been registered with a birth certificate or any other documents? Has Junho now been registered as sole provider? What if he rejects the baby and gives her up? Does he still keep the money? Also, this is 45.6 billion won. Does South Korea just not do the whole death and taxes thing?
아이고 새벽에 어머니 어서 오셔. 고생 많았습니다.
Things that should have been resolved in season 1 that are suddenly being resolved at a point where I don't remember the thing that needed to be resolved in the first place.
들어와.
아니 근데 리모델링비가 석창이 나올 것 같은데요.
사람 쓰지 말고 우리가 직접 하면 싸게 할 수 있어.
Wanting to do business in a place where you watched your friend get murdered right in front of you. Either Woo Seok is a sociopath or the show doesn't know how to PTSD correctly.
혹시 그러면은 응? 그 형사놈이 먹고 주댕이 확 닦아본 거 아닐까요?
황 형사? 아니야 임마. 황 형사 걔는 관상이.
We never see the awkward reunion where Junho has to explain that he has a shitload of cash, but it definitely isn't Gi-hun's cash in the ensuing hijinks.
가서 아빠한테 전해주세요. 난 이제 아빠가 연락을 하든 말든 상관없다고. 그냥 아빠는 없는 셈 치고 살 거라고. 그러니까 관심 끊으라고.
Kids.
가영양에게 남기신 겁니다.
He did not. Also, thinking you're doing right by someone's child by giving them the blood-soaked uniform of their deceased father, presented without explanation. Giving a teenager a debit card and a bloody jacket, and banking on them jumping to, oh, that bloody stained number must be the PIN for this debit card. There's a good chance she never sees this money because of frontman being a fucking Riddler wannabe. Here it is, the reason why nothing was resolved this season. Why none of the VIPs or Inho or anyone was brought to justice. Because there's more show. And when there's more show, nothing really changes. Also, this can immediately f off. I love Dame Cate Blanchett as much as the next human, but way to piss on your own finale by using your final minutes to set up its American counterpart. Also, I feel like the American Squid Game recruiters should play an American game like Cornhole or spread democracy to a country with exploitable resources. Noticing someone is watching with only a feeling and looking right at them, cliché. The odds of frontman's driver stopping in view of this alleyway at this exact moment in all of LA and seeing a Squid Game recruiter are about as likely as having a surprise hit and screwing it up with a bizarrely split second and third season that deteriorates into a sequence of Saw challenges instead of exploring any of the deep things the first season did. Not f***ing likely. And yet. Also, final also of the show, also, how the f*** does she know who he is? Are all the front man and recruiters acquainted? Do they have a WhatsApp group chat? You can't just add this detail in at the end of the show and then be like, okay, yep, and... I mean, you can, but you're going to get thrown in the sin games, and there's no prize at the end of that shit, and even fewer answers.
I'm sorry, I'm not playing that game.
상황이 나빠지면 어떡하죠?
Wipe them out. All of them.
You can't just start a slow clap at any old time.
Well, you little...
What's taters, precious? What's taters, eh?
Stop looking at me, Swan.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
Shut up! No, Kelly Clarkson!
You take the blue pill.
니까짓게 감히 날 어쩔 수 있을 것 같아?
You have no power here.
Nope.
Mommy?
I almost cried when I heard that old lady's speech.
I don't believe you.
Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
다 자기 탓이라고 생각하시는 거예요.
Who the f*** starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
할머니도 현주 씨도 그리고 너도 스스로 선택을 한 거야.
It's not your fault.
뭐 하는 거야? This is Sparta!
게임하지.
Game over, man. It's game over.
You son of a bitch! Player 276 eliminated.
Game over, man. It's game over.
You okay?
This is
Sparta!
What kind of bullshit is this? I summon the very facts that I am a man!
Hello? Is this Captain Park Young-gil?
Yes, it is.
I was stung by a jellyfish on my foot, and I asked one of your workers to make whizzies on my foot.
Just wondering.
What was he after?
The Declaration of Independence.
It goes by how clammy your hands are.
It's not a knife.
Yeah, that's a knife.
Oh, it is a knife.
This game has gone on long enough.
I lost the only person I cared about over there. All because I couldn't get one kidney.
Oh, they took my freaking kidney.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Mac, I've located him. He's right near the hole.
Oh, good, let me bash him.
That way, we all get a happy ending, right? Sound good? What's up? Is that still too low?
I don't understand how finances work.
My weakness, it's small knives.
Just let me go.
Anything but knives!
I'm Scuba Sam, Scuba Steve's father. Look at me when you're talking to me!
My life revolved around looking for that duckchi guy, but now that that's done, I'm kind of lost.
Have you ever considered piracy? It'd make a wonderful Dread Pirate Roberts.